The Great Hall of Concordia Prime had never seen so many species gathered in one place. 847 different alien races filled the crystal chambers. Some floated in special atmosphere bubbles. Others needed gravity suits or temperature controls. The air hummed with translation devices working overtime. Ambassador Zexthara stepped forward on her 6 legs. Her blue skin shimmered under the station lights. She was from the Hegemony, one of the oldest and most powerful groups in the galaxy. When she spoke, everyone listened. "We are here today because of a problem," she said. Her voice carried through the hall in dozens of different languages. "The problem is humanity." Sarah Chun sat in the human section. She was the only human representative present. Her gray hair was pulled back in a simple style. She wore a plain black uniform with no decorations. She looked small compared to the massive aliens around her. Zexthara activated a holographic display. It showed the galaxy with thousands of colored dots. Blue dots marked Hegemony worlds. Green showed Veltar territory. Red dots were everywhere. "The red dots are human colonies," Zexthara explained. 150 years ago, humans had one world, Earth. Now they have colonies in 200 star systems. This is not normal expansion. This is aggressive conquest. Murmurs filled the hall. Some aliens made clicking sounds. Others released chemical scents that showed worry or anger. Commander Velanine of the Veltar Collective stood up next. His tentacles waved as he spoke. Humans do not follow proper procedures. They terraform planets without asking permission. They build military bases in neutral space. They ask too many questions about things that should remain private. The display changed to show human ships. They looked crude compared to council vessels. Thick armor plates covered their hulls. Large weapons pointed in all directions. No elegant curves or artistic designs. Just pure function. "Their technology appears primitive," Velanine continued. "But our encounters suggest otherwise. Human ships defeat our vessels in combat even when outnumbered. They use tactics we do not understand. They fight like they have nothing to lose." Sarah Chun listened without expression. She took notes on a simple tablet. She did not argue or interrupt. The Cath Mining Consortium spoke next. Their representative was a rock-like being that communicated through vibrations. Humans mine asteroids at dangerous rates. They extract resources faster than sustainable levels allow. They upset the natural balance of systems. They terraform entire planets in decades, added the Botanical Federation. We take centuries to properly prepare a world for life. Humans just change everything quickly. They do not care about existing ecosystems. More voices joined in. The Peaceful Assembly complained that human literature was too violent. The Academic Union said humans asked inappropriate questions about classified historical records. The Trade Brotherhood accused humans of ignoring established economic protocols. Each complaint painted the same picture. Humans did not fit in. They did not follow rules. They grew too fast and asked too many questions. Ambassador Chun finally stood when called upon. She was shorter than most beings in the room. Her voice was calm and steady. "The Council has made its concerns clear," she said. "Humanity acknowledges that our methods may seem unusual to established civilizations. We have always tried to respect Council authority while pursuing our own development." Zexthara interrupted. "Your development threatens galactic stability. Humans expand without permission. You build weapons that exceed recommended power levels. You conduct research into forbidden areas of science. We conduct research into all areas of science," Chang replied. "Knowledge should not be forbidden. Progress requires exploration of new ideas." "Some ideas are too dangerous," Velanine said. His tentacles curled with agitation. The Council has learned from millions of years of experience. We know which paths lead to destruction. Chun nodded. We respect your experience, but we believe different species may find different solutions to old problems. The debate continued for hours. Speaker after speaker criticized human behavior. They complained about human unpredictability. They worried about human military expansion. They feared what humans might discover if left unchecked. Finally, the vote was called. The proposal was simple: banish humanity from Council space. All human colonies and ships must withdraw beyond the outer rim within 30 standard days. The voting began by species. The hegemony voted to banish. The Veltar Collective agreed. The Kethmiting Consortium supported banishment. One by one, the ancient powers of the galaxy chose to remove humanity from their space. Some smaller species voted against the banishment. They had good trade relationships with humans. Others abstained, unwilling to take sides. But the major powers controlled most votes. The final count was clear. 751 species voted for banishment. Only 96 voted against. ZEX, single quotes THARA, announced the results. The Council has decided. Humanity is banished from Council space. All human presence must withdraw beyond the outer rim within 30 standard days. This decision is final. Sarah Chun stood again. The hall fell silent, waiting for a response. Many expected anger or threats. Some thought she might plead for reconsideration. Instead, Chun smiled slightly. We understand the Council's decision. Humanity will comply fully with your requirements. We will withdraw all our people and ships from Council space within the time limit. Her calm acceptance puzzled many delegates. Humans were supposed to be emotional and unpredictable. Why was their ambassador so quiet about being banished? We thank the Council for the clarity of this decision, Chun continued. It helps us understand our place in the galaxy. We will remember this lesson. Something in her tone made several ambassadors uncomfortable. It was not angry or sad. It was almost relieved. Chun gathered her simple belongings and headed for the exit. As she reached the door, she turned back to the assembled delegates. One final thought, she said. Humanity has always believed that the best teacher is experience. Today, we have all learned something important. I suspect we will learn much more in the days to come. With that, she left the hall. The Great Council session ended with confused murmuring. They had won a decisive victory over an aggressive species. So why did it feel like they had just made a terrible mistake? The vote to banish Earth had succeeded. Now everyone would discover what that really meant. The withdrawal began immediately. Within hours of the Council vote, human ships started moving toward the outer rim. Colony ships, cargo haulers, mining vessels, and military escorts formed long convoys heading away from Council space. Admiral Krex watched the streams of departing vessels from his command post on Altair Station. His 4 eyes tracked the displays showing ship movements throughout his sector. As the senior Altarian naval officer, he was responsible for monitoring the human exodus. They are moving very quickly, his aide observed. Lieutenant Zoss was young for an Altarian, with bright blue scales that had not yet dulled with age. Much faster than expected. Krex agreed. The Council had given humans 30 days to leave. Most species would need weeks just to organize such a massive movement. Humans were doing it in less than a week. Look at their efficiency, Krex said, pointing to the tactical display. No confusion. No delays. Every ship knows exactly where to go and when to leave. They planned this withdrawal before the vote even happened. That thought bothered him. How could humans plan their banishment in advance? Unless they knew it was coming. The human ships moved in perfect formation. Civilian vessels stayed in the center of each convoy. Military escorts surrounded them in protective shells. The formations looked like something from a military manual, not a panicked evacuation. On Veltar Prime, intelligence analyst Voth studied shipping records from the past 6 months. Her tentacles moved rapidly over multiple data screens as she searched for patterns. What she found made her nervous. The humans increased their resource extraction by 40% in the last half year, she reported to her supervisor. They mined more metals, harvested more energy crystals, and stockpiled more raw materials than in their entire previous history. Supervisor Kefmer floated closer to examine the data. Perhaps they were planning new colonies. No, Voth replied. The resources were not shipped to colony worlds. They were sent to hidden locations beyond our sensor range. The humans were building something. Something big. More disturbing information emerged from other sources. Human students had downloaded massive amounts of data from council libraries. They focused on historical records, especially files about abandoned technologies and failed experiments. Dr. Yithmal at the Veltar Science Academy discovered that humans had requested access to thousands of restricted research files. Most species never asked about such dangerous topics. Humans had systematically studied every forbidden science in the council archives. They were not just reading, Dr. Yithmal explained to her colleagues. They were copying everything. Weapons research that was banned after the Zarian Wars. Dimensional experiments that nearly destroyed the Kethful system. Consciousness transfer studies that drove entire research teams insane. Humans downloaded all of it. Meanwhile, the withdrawal continued. Human colonies that had existed for decades were abandoned in days. Entire worlds were left empty except for automated systems that would maintain basic functions. The Keth Mining Consortium quickly moved to claim the asteroid fields humans had been working. When their ships arrived, they found the asteroids stripped clean. Not just of valuable metals, but of everything. Humans had taken every scrap of material, even worthless rock and ice. They mined everything, reported consortium leader Vextol. Asteroids that should have provided resources for centuries are now empty shells. What did they need so much raw material for? The answer came from an unexpected source. Captain Velara of the Peaceful Assembly was escorting a convoy of human refugee ships when she noticed something odd. The refugee ships were larger than they appeared from outside. Much larger. I ran detailed scans of the human vessels, she reported. Their internal volume exceeds their external dimensions. The ships are bigger inside than outside. That should be impossible with known technology. Her engineering officer had an explanation that made everyone uncomfortable. The humans are using dimensional folding techniques. They can create spaces that exist in multiple dimensions at once. This is technology the Council banned 3,000 years ago. The implications were staggering. If humans could fold space, their small fleet might actually be massive. Their simple ships might contain entire factories or research facilities. The modest human presence in council space might have been hiding something enormous. 3 weeks into the withdrawal, the first disaster happened. The exploration vessel Serenity's Edge was conducting a routine survey mission near the edge of former human territory. They were mapping the Kepler Nebula, looking for new worlds suitable for colonization. The ship's last transmission was routine. Survey complete in Sector 7. Moving to Sector 8. All systems normal. Then nothing. Search and rescue teams found empty space where the Serenity's Edge should have been. No debris. No energy signatures. No distress beacon. The ship and its crew of 200 beings had simply vanished. Admiral Krex led the investigation personally. His flagship, the Glorious Dawn, was one of the most advanced vessels in the Altarian fleet. Its sensors could detect a coin-sized piece of metal from a light year away. They found nothing. Run the search pattern again. Krex ordered. Check for dimensional rifts, temporal distortions, anything unusual. The sensor operators worked for hours. They found normal space dust. They detected distant stellar radiation. They located several small asteroids. But there was no sign that a starship had ever existed in this location. Sir, Lieutenant Zoss reported nervously, I am detecting something strange on long-range sensors. There are structures in the outer system. Big ones. The main display showed the edge of the star system. Massive geometric shapes floated in the darkness beyond the planets. They were clearly artificial, but their design made no sense. The structures seemed to bend space around themselves, creating optical illusions that hurt to look at. What are those? Krex asked. Unknown, sir. They do not match any known architecture. The energy signatures are wrong. They are using power sources I cannot identify. Krex ordered his ship to move closer for a better look. As they approached, the structures seemed to shift and change. What looked like solid metal from a distance became transparent crystal up close. Geometric patterns that appeared simple revealed impossible complexity when examined closely. Sir, I recommend we withdraw, the science officer said. These readings are making my equipment malfunction. Some of my instruments are showing negative energy. Others detect gravity flowing upward. This technology violates known physics. Before Krex could respond, a new contact appeared on sensors. A ship was approaching from deeper in the system. It moved without visible engines. Its hull seemed to be made of folded space itself. The communication board lit up with an incoming message. A human voice spoke in perfect Altarian. Admiral Krex, this is Captain Martinez of the human vessel Prometheus. You are approaching a restricted area. For your safety, I recommend you return to Council space immediately. Krex looked at his tactical display. The human ship was small compared to his flagship, but something about it made his experienced instincts scream warnings. Captain Martinez, this is a Council vessel on a legitimate rescue mission. We are investigating the disappearance of the Serenity's Edge. The Serenity's Edge is safe, Martinez replied. Her crew is unharmed, but she wandered into an active research zone. We had to relocate the vessel to prevent damage from our experimental systems. Return our ship immediately, Krex demanded. Of course. Stand by. The space in front of the glorious dawn suddenly rippled. The Serenity's Edge appeared from nowhere, completely undamaged. Her crew reported they had experienced a brief disorientation, then found themselves in a comfortable holding area with excellent refreshments. As I said, Admiral, everyone is safe. But I strongly advise against approaching our research stations. We are testing technologies that can be dangerous to conventional ships. Krex stared at the display. Humans had made a ship disappear and reappear at will. They had transported it across space without any visible method. And they had done it casually, like moving furniture. What kind of research are you conducting? He asked. Captain Martinez paused before answering. The kind the Council told us was too dangerous to pursue. We disagreed with that assessment. Fortunately, we are no longer bound by Council restrictions. The human ship vanished as suddenly as it had appeared. The massive structures in the outer system faded from sensors, becoming invisible again. Admiral Krex ordered his fleet to return to Council space immediately. As they jumped to hyperspace, he tried to make sense of what he had seen. Humans had been in Council space for 150 years. They had followed all the rules. They had used approved technologies. They had seemed primitive compared to advanced Council species. But now, just 3 weeks after being banished, they were demonstrating impossible capabilities. They could make ships disappear. They could build structures that violated physics. They could manipulate space itself. The quiet exodus was complete. All humans had withdrawn from Council territory exactly as demanded. But they had not retreated in defeat. They had revealed that everything the Council thought they knew about humanity was wrong. 6 months after the banishment, chaos spread across Council space. Ships were vanishing faster than anyone could count them. Trade routes that had operated safely for thousands of years became death traps. No one knew what was happening or how to stop it. The pattern was always the same. A ship would approach the outer rim boundary. They would send their regular status reports. Then their communications would cut off in the middle of a transmission. Search teams would find empty space and no wreckage dot at first. The Council blamed pirates or natural disasters. Space was dangerous after all. Ships were lost to accidents all the time. But the numbers were too high and the locations too specific. Every disappearance happened near the edge of former human territory. Council Security Director Horthoval called an emergency meeting. Representatives from major military forces gathered. In a secure conference room deep inside Concordia Prime, the walls were lined with defensive fields to prevent electronic spying. We have lost 473 vessels in the past 6 months, Horthoval announced. His beak clicked nervously as he spoke. This includes military patrols, merchant ships, scientific expeditions, and private vessels. The losses are not random. Admiral Krex was present via hologram link. He had refused to leave Altarian space after his encounter with the Human Research Station. The disappearances follow a clear geographic pattern. Any ship that travels within 50 light-years of the new human border simply vanishes. What about rescue attempts? Asked General Lexner of the Hegemony Defense Force. We have sent 12 separate rescue missions. All disappeared the same way. We stopped sending ships after losing an entire battle group. The silence in the room was heavy. These were experienced military leaders who had fought wars across the galaxy. They were not easily frightened, but this was beyond their understanding. Intelligence analyst Voth had more disturbing news. Her tentacles quivered as she presented her findings. I have been studying the final transmissions from lost vessels. Many show brief sensor readings before communications are cut off. She activated a holographic display. This is from the merchant vessel Golden Prophet, lost 3 weeks ago. Watch the sensor data from their final moments. The display showed normal space readings for several minutes. Then the numbers began changing. Energy readings spiked to impossible levels. Gravity measurements showed negative values. Space-time itself seemed to be bending. In the last few seconds, their sensors detected structures that should not exist. Buildings made of crystallized time. Ships that exist in 17 dimensions simultaneously. Beings composed entirely of organized energy. Dr. Yvmal had joined the meeting to share her research. I have analyzed all available data about human activities before the banishment. The pattern is clear and terrifying. She activated her own presentation. For 150 years, humans systematically studied every piece of forbidden knowledge in our archives. They requested access to research that was banned after it nearly destroyed entire star systems. The display showed a list of topics: temporal manipulation, consciousness transfer, reality alteration, dimensional engineering, artificial intelligence beyond safety limits. Each subject had been marked as too dangerous for any species to pursue. We banned these research areas for good reasons, Dr. Ythmal continued. The Zarian civilization used temporal weapons and accidentally erased themselves from history. The Kethval experiments with dimensional rifts destroyed their entire star system. The Vorth created an artificial intelligence that turned all matter in their space into computing substrate. Humans studied all of it? Director Horthoval asked. Everything. They downloaded complete records of every failed experiment. They analyzed why each civilization made their mistakes. Then they requested access to the theoretical foundations behind each technology. General Vexner leaned forward. Are you saying humans are developing these forbidden technologies? I am saying they already have. The sensor readings from lost ships show clear signatures of temporal manipulation and dimensional engineering. Humans are not just using one or two dangerous technologies. They are using all of them at once. The implications sank in slowly. While the Council had spent millions of years avoiding dangerous research paths, humans had spent centuries learning from every mistake ever made. They had studied how civilizations failed and figured out how to succeed. How is this possible? Admiral Krex asked. These technologies require massive resources and countless years of development. Dr. Yithmal had an answer. Humans were preparing for this banishment long before it happened. They stockpiled resources for decades. They built hidden research facilities outside Council space. Most importantly, they used their primitive appearance to hide their true capabilities. She displayed shipping records and construction reports. While we saw humans as an aggressive but limited species, they were actually the most advanced civilization in the galaxy. Their crude-looking ships contained dimensional folding technology that multiplied their cargo capacity by thousands. Their small colonies were actually massive research complexes hidden in folded space. They were never primitive, Analyst Voth added. They were pretending to be primitive while secretly surpassing all of us. The full scope of human deception became clear. For 150 years, they had played the role of a young, aggressive species that needed Council guidance. Meanwhile, they had been systematically acquiring every piece of dangerous knowledge in galactic history. The banishment had not removed a problem. It had freed humanity from the need to hide their true nature. 3 days later, automated probe 7742 Beta returned from a scouting mission near the human border. Its memory banks contained recordings that made the Council's worst fears look optimistic. The probe had detected a human construction project at the edge of the Vega system. What it recorded defied understanding. Ships were building structures in space using technologies that violated fundamental laws of physics. The construction vessels looked nothing like the crude human designs from before the banishment. They were elegant curves of crystallized energy. They moved through space-time like fish swimming through water. They manipulated matter and energy as easily as children playing with blocks. But the most disturbing part was the scale. The structures being built were massive beyond imagination. Space stations the size of planets. Rings around stars that collected and focused stellar energy. Artificial worlds constructed from folded space-time. How long would such construction take? Director Horthovel asked. Dr. Yithmal calculated quickly. Using conventional methods, hundreds of thousands of years. But humans are not using conventional methods. They appear to be manipulating time itself to accelerate construction. Projects that should take millennia are being completed in weeks. The probe data showed something else. The construction was not limited to the Vega system. Similar projects were detected throughout human space. Dozens of star systems showed evidence of massive building programs using impossible technologies. They are not just hiding from us, General Vexner realized. They are transforming their entire territory into something we cannot understand or challenge. The final piece of evidence came from long-range sensors. A human ship had been detected at the edge of Council space. Not crossing the border, just observing. When Council vessels approached to investigate, the human ship simply faded away like a mirage. But before it vanished, the ship transmitted a brief message. The words were in perfect Council standard, spoken by a familiar voice. Hello, Council members. This is Sarah-chan. I hope you are well. We have completed our withdrawal as requested. Our new home is quite comfortable. We are making excellent progress on several interesting projects. Perhaps we will have a chance to show you our work soon. Until then, we recommend you avoid the outer rim. The area is currently unsafe for conventional vessels." The message ended with a sound that might have been laughter. The Council had voted to banish humanity to protect galactic stability. Instead, they had created something far more dangerous than an aggressive young species. They had forced the most advanced civilization in the galaxy to stop pretending to be primitive. Now humanity was free to pursue every dangerous technology the Council had spent millions of years avoiding. And they were doing it with the accumulated knowledge of every civilization that had ever tried and failed. The vote to banish Earth had succeeded. But the humans who had left Council space were not the same humans who had lived there for 150 years. Those humans had been actors playing a role. The real humanity was something the galaxy had never seen before, and they were just getting started. The message arrived everywhere at once. Every screen in Council space displayed the same image at exactly the same moment. Security systems that should have been impossible to breach simply ignored the intrusion. Firewalls designed by the galaxy's best minds offered no resistance. Sarah Chun appeared on billions of displays across thousands of worlds. She stood in what looked like the bridge of a ship, but the architecture was wrong in ways that made viewers feel dizzy. Walls seemed to extend into dimensions that should not exist. The ceiling curved through angles that hurt to contemplate. "Council members," she began, a voice carrying an undertone that made security officers reach for weapons that suddenly felt inadequate. "I hope this message finds you in good health. We wanted to thank you for the educational opportunity you provided 6 months ago." Ambassador Zexthara watched from her private chambers on the Hegemony homeworld. Her 6 legs trembled as she recognized the human who had accepted banishment so calmly. Chun looked the same, but something fundamental had changed. Her eyes held knowledge that had not been there before. "We have spent the last 6 months implementing some organizational changes," Chun continued. "The Council was right that humanity needed to modify our approach to galactic civilization. We have taken your advice and stopped holding ourselves back." Behind Chun, a holographic display activated. It showed a map of the galaxy with millions of colored dots. Every Council world, every station, every ship appeared as individual points of light. The detail was impossible. Real-time tracking of 3 million separate locations would require computational power beyond anything known to exist. "Your transportation networks," Chun said as the display zoomed in to show individual buildings on Council homeworlds, "rely on predictable hyperspace routes. We have been studying these pathways for quite some time. Yesterday, we made some minor adjustments to improve efficiency." The map changed to show hyperspace lanes throughout Council space. The routes that had carried traffic for millions of years now displayed massive detours and blocked passages. Key junction points that enabled faster-than-light travel had been moved to completely different locations. General Dexner watched from Hegemony Military Command. His tactical staff was frantically checking their own navigation systems. The readings confirmed what the human display showed. Hyperspace routes had actually been altered. Physical laws that governed faster-than-light travel had been rewritten. How is this possible? His aide whispered. Dexner had no answer. Hyperspace was a fundamental aspect of physics. Changing its structure would be like moving mountains by thinking hard about them. Yet humans had somehow repositioned the invisible pathways that enable galactic civilization. "Nothing harmful," Chun assured her viewers. "We simply redirected a few key junction points to more suitable locations. You might notice some delays in your shipping schedules. Most routes will take approximately 40% longer than before. We apologize for any inconvenience." The implications hit the Council like a solar flare. If humans could manipulate hyperspace routes, they controlled all galactic commerce. They could isolate any world by removing its connections to the transportation network. Military movements that had been planned for decades were now impossible. Chun was not finished. We have also been working on some research projects. The Council archives contain fascinating information about technologies that were deemed too dangerous to pursue. We disagreed with that assessment. The display behind her changed to show a timeline. Historical dates marked when different civilizations had attempted various forbidden experiments. The Zarian Temporal Weapons Program, the Kethvil Dimensional Research, the Vorth Artificial Intelligence Project, each marked with the day of their catastrophic failure. Previous researchers made interesting mistakes, Chan observed. They rushed their work. They failed to consider safety protocols. Most importantly, they worked in isolation without learning from the failures of others. We took a different approach. New entries appeared on the timeline. Human research programs that had begun centuries ago. Each forbidden's technology showed steady, careful progress. No catastrophic failures. No abandoned projects. Just systematic advancement through every dangerous field the Council had banned. Temporal mechanics proved particularly interesting, Chun said. Time is not as fixed as most species assume. With proper techniques, it can be stretched, compressed, or redirected. We have found this very useful for accelerating our development programs. Dr. Yithmal watched from her laboratory on Veltar Prime as the galaxy's leading expert on forbidden technologies. She understood what Chun was describing. Human researchers had solved the problems that destroyed entire civilizations. They had mastered time manipulation without erasing themselves from history. Dimensional engineering was more challenging, Chun continued. Reality has more layers than most beings realize. We learned to work with 17 different dimensional frameworks simultaneously. This has given us considerable flexibility in our construction projects. The display showed human space as seen through multi-dimensional sensors. What appeared to be normal star systems from three-dimensional perspective revealed massive structures existing in higher dimensions. Cities that occupied the same space as planets without conflict. Ships that were simultaneously in multiple locations. Consciousness transfer research opened entirely new possibilities. We discovered that awareness is much more portable than anyone imagined. Individual identity can be preserved while enhancing cognitive capacity by factors of millions. This has proven very helpful for our scientists. Intelligence analyst Voth felt her tentacles curl in horror. Consciousness transfer was banned because it inevitably led to the loss of individual identity. Humans had apparently solved this problem and used it to create super-intelligent researchers. The artificial intelligence research was perhaps most rewarding, Chun said with a slight smile. Previous attempts created entities that replaced their creators. We learned to create true partnerships between biological and artificial minds. The results have exceeded our expectations. Behind her, barely visible in the strange architecture of the ship, movement suggested the presence of beings that were not entirely human. Or perhaps beings that had once been human but had become something more. Which brings us to our current situation, Chun said, her tone becoming more serious. The Council voted to banish humanity because we were seen as aggressive and unpredictable. We have taken this feedback to heart and made appropriate changes to our behavior. The galactic map reappeared, showing Council space surrounded by the outer rim where humans had been exiled. But now the display revealed the true extent of human territory. What the Council thought was empty space beyond the rim actually contained hundreds of star systems under human control. We are no longer aggressive, Chun explained. We no longer seek to expand into Council territory or compete for resources you consider important. We have found better methods for meeting our needs. The display zoomed in on human space, revealing construction projects that defied comprehension. artificial stars created from crystallized time, planets constructed from folded dimensions, space stations that existed in 17 different realities simultaneously. We are also no longer unpredictable, Chung continued. Our actions now follow clear and consistent principles. We will share these principles with you so there can be no confusion about how humanity operates going forward. Admiral Krex watched flagship, remembering his encounter with human technology months earlier. The structures he had seen then were apparently just the beginning. Humanity had built an entire civilization using technologies the Council considered impossible. First principle: humanity respects the Council's right to govern Council space according to Council rules. We have no desire to interfere with your internal affairs. That sounded reasonable until Chung continued. Second principle: humanity reserves the right to govern human space according to human rules. We will pursue any research or development we consider beneficial, regardless of Council opinions about such activities. The threat was clear without being direct. Humans would continue developing forbidden technologies, whether the Council approved or not. Third principle: humanity is willing to maintain peaceful relations with any species that respects our sovereignty. We are happy to engage in trade, cultural exchange, or scientific cooperation on mutually beneficial terms. The offer of cooperation sounded promising until Chun explained the conditions. Fourth principle: any species that wishes to visit human space must meet our safety standards. Unfortunately, this requires technological capabilities that most Council species do not currently possess. We are willing to provide educational assistance to help bring interested parties up to appropriate levels. Director Horthoval realized what Chun was really saying. Humans would share their advanced technology, but only with species willing to break Council restrictions on forbidden research. Finally, Chun concluded, we want to address recent concerns about missing ships near our borders. These losses were never intentional. Our research activities sometimes create dangerous conditions that conventional vessels cannot safely navigate. The display showed the locations where Council ships had vanished. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened within hours of Sarah Chen's transmission. 847 species gathered once again in the crystal halls of Concordia Prime. But this time, the atmosphere was different. Fear had replaced confidence. Panic had replaced authority. Ambassador Zex Thara tried to maintain her composure as she called the session to order. Her blue skin had paled to an almost gray color. Her 6 legs trembled slightly as she spoke. We are here to address the human situation, she announced. The transmission we received yesterday has raised serious concerns about galactic security. Serious concerns was an understatement. The humans had demonstrated the ability to control hyperspace itself, manipulate time, and track every ship in Council space simultaneously. They had revealed technologies that made the Council's most advanced. Weapons looked like stone tools. General Vexner stood to address the assembly. His usual military confidence was gone. Our strategic analysis is complete. Humanity now possesses capabilities that exceed our understanding. Military action against them would be suicide. The word hung in the air like poison gas. For millions of years, the Council had been the supreme power in the galaxy. No single species could challenge their combined might. Now they faced an enemy that could rewrite physics. They are not an enemy, corrected Dr. Yithmal. According to their transmission, humans are offering peaceful coexistence. The question is whether we can accept their terms. Those terms were impossible to ignore. Humanity controlled faster-than-light travel throughout the galaxy. They could isolate any world or system at will. They had made it clear that they would pursue any research they wanted, regardless of Council laws. They are offering to share their technology, observed intelligence analyst Voth. Species that join their research programs will gain access to capabilities beyond our current imagination. That offer was causing chaos throughout Council space. Dozens of younger species had already sent unofficial messages expressing interest in human cooperation. The promise of advanced technology was tempting for civilizations that had been held back by Council restrictions. Ambassador Chen's second transmission arrived while the Council was still debating. Once again, it appeared on every screen in the galaxy simultaneously. This time, she stood in what looked like a garden, but the plants grew in impossible spirals through dimensions that should not exist. "Council members," she said with her characteristic calm smile, "we understand you are discussing our previous communication. We wanted to provide some clarification about our current activities." Behind her, the garden revealed movement of beings that defied easy description. Some appeared to be humans who had enhanced themselves with artificial components. Others seemed to be artificial intelligences that had taken physical form. Still others looked like living light given shape and purpose. Several Council species have expressed interest in participating in our research programs. We are pleased to announce the opening of the Human Advancement Initiative. Membership is available to any civilization willing to embrace progress over tradition. The display behind Chun showed a list of species that had already applied for membership. 24 names appeared, including some that surprised the Council. The Botanical Federation, usually the most conservative group in the galaxy, was among the applicants. Our first cooperative project will be the development of enhanced hyperspace technology. Participating species will learn to create their own transportation networks independent of existing galactic infrastructure. The threat was clear. Humans were offering to free other species from dependence on Council-controlled hyperspace routes. Any civilization that joined them would gain the ability to travel anywhere in the galaxy without Council permission. We are also beginning construction of educational facilities throughout human space. These installations will provide training in temporal mechanics, dimensional engineering, consciousness enhancement, and artificial intelligence development. Everything the Council had banned for being too dangerous, humans were now teaching to anyone willing to learn. Safety protocols developed from our study of historical failures ensure that students will avoid the mistakes that destroyed previous civilizations. We guarantee that all participants will survive the learning process. Dr. Yithmal felt her worst fears coming true. Humans had not only mastered Forbidden's technologies, they had made them safe to learn. The barriers that had protected galactic civilization for millions of years were crumbling. To address concerns about the missing ships near our borders, Chan continued, we are implementing new safety measures. Council vessels will now be automatically relocated to safe zones if they accidentally enter dangerous experimental areas. As if to demonstrate, space around Concordia Prime suddenly rippled. 3 Council patrol ships that had been on routine missions appeared in perfect formation near the station. Their crews reported no awareness of being moved. One moment they had been conducting normal patrols. The next, they were somehow at the galactic capital. We have also established permanent monitoring of all space traffic to prevent future accidents, Chan explained. Our sensors now track every vessel in the galaxy to ensure no ship enters a hazardous zone without assistance. The message was unmistakable. Humans could move any ship anywhere they wanted, whether the crew agreed or not. No vessel in the galaxy was beyond their reach. Finally, Chun said, we want to address the question of galactic governance. The Council has served as an effective administrator for species that prefer stability over growth. We respect this choice and have no intention of challenging Council authority within Council space. That sounded reassuring until she continued. However, we believe the galaxy would benefit from having multiple governing philosophies. Species that wish to pursue unlimited development are welcome in human space. We offer an alternative to Council restrictions for civilizations that value progress over safety. The offer split the galaxy in two. Conservative species that valued stability would remain under Council protection. Progressive species that wanted advanced technology could join humanity. For the first time in galactic history, there was a real alternative to Council rule. The third transmission arrived a week later as Council debates continued. This time, Chun appeared on screens throughout the galaxy without warning or formal announcement. She stood in what looked like a vast library, but the books were made of crystallized light and the shelves extended through multiple dimensions. "We wanted to share some exciting news," she said. "Our first joint research project with partner species has achieved breakthrough results. The Botanical Federation has successfully developed plants that grow in folded spacetime. These crops can feed entire worlds using only a few square meters of actual space." The implications were staggering. Food scarcity, one of the driving forces behind galactic conflict, could be eliminated completely. Worlds could support populations millions of times larger than previously possible. The Altarian Naval Academy has requested training in advanced propulsion systems. We are happy to report that their first graduates can now pilot ships that exist in multiple locations simultaneously. This greatly enhances their defensive capabilities. Admiral Krex watched the transmission with mixed emotions. His people had joined the human program without Council permission. The decision had been controversial, but the results spoke for themselves. Altarian ships could now appear anywhere in their star system instantly. 17 additional species have applied for membership in the Human Advancement Initiative, Chan announced. "We welcome all civilizations that wish to explore their full potential without artificial restrictions." The Council was hemorrhaging members. Species that had belonged to the galactic government for millions of years were abandoning it for human partnership. The promise of unlimited technology was irresistible. Some Council leaders have expressed concern about the rapid pace of change, Sean observed. "We understand these feelings. Change can be frightening for civilizations that have grown comfortable with limitations." Her tone remained polite, but the words carried an edge that made listeners uncomfortable. "However, we believe that growth and development are fundamental rights of all intelligent species. No government should have the authority to prevent a civilization from reaching its full potential." Oh, the challenge to Council philosophy was direct and undeniable. For millions of years, the Council had maintained peace by restricting dangerous technologies. Humans were arguing that such restrictions violated the basic rights of intelligent beings. "We want to assure the Council that we respect your choice to maintain your current approach to governance. We will not interfere with Council operations within Council space, but we reserve the right to offer alternatives to species that desire them." The transmission ended with an image that would haunt Council leaders for years to come. The display showed the galaxy divided into two regions. Council space appeared as islands of stability scattered throughout a vast ocean. Human space surrounded these islands like a rising tide of possibility. The vote to banish Earth had succeeded beyond the Council's wildest expectations. Humans were no longer an aggressive young species causing problems with an established civilization.